We've all had that feeling. You walk into a room, you see, I don't know, an old doll or a painting, and something in your brain just screams bad vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Not because it's dusty, but because it feels like it's like actively holding on to some kind of dark energy.
Right. It's this core human belief that objects can be carriers. I mean, we always think of curses as these ancient things, mummy boards and buried treasures.
Totally.
But what about the stuff being made right now? The art that seems to, actively kill its own creator, or the paintings that just refuse to burn?
Exactly. And that's what this deep dive is all about. We are going way beyond the typical spooky ghost story. We're looking at the truly macabre artifacts, modern art, viral urban legends. You want to know what kind of trauma gets so infused into an object that it makes us all feel uneasy.
Our mission is to unpack the stories they said were too real to tell. We're going to go from the mythology of it all straight to the hard science of the uncanny. Because usually the best curses are just a perfect storm of human tragedy and, well, media hype.
Okay, let's get into it. And we have to start with what is, I think, the most notorious piece of modern cursed art out there. The 32-foot statue at Denver International Airport.
Oh, yeah.
If you've flown into Denver, you know exactly who I'm talking about. The Blue Mustang, or as literally everyone calls him, Blucifer.
Lucifer.
Yeah.
It is. It's a stunning and terrifying piece of art. It's, 9,000 pounds of blue fiberglass, standing on its hind legs with these eyes that glow with this really unnatural neon red.
And the story of its creation by the artist Luis Jimenez is just a masterclass in the clash between an artist and his own work.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing started way back in 1992. It was supposed to be his masterpiece, but it turned into this brutal 16-year war. And I don't just mean it was a slow project.
Huh.
It was physically destructive for him.
Oh, absolutely destructive. I mean, during the process, Jimenez's health just completely collapsed. He started battling these crippling migraines.
Okay.
He had a back injury so bad he needed help to get around. Multiple eye surgeries that ended with him needing a glass eye. He had a heart attack.
Whoa.
And he needed surgery on his hands just to keep sculpting. He was literally pouring his physical self into this giant horse.
And it wasn't just physical pain. While all this is happening, the city of Denver gets tired of the delays, and they sue him.
Right. They sue him to get back the initial $165,000 payment.
I can't even imagine that pressure. You're fighting your body, you're fighting your art, and now you're fighting the city in court.
Yeah. Mediation eventually forced him to finish it, but that legal pressure just amplified the whole struggle. It really felt like the project itself was just resisting being born.
And here's where it gets truly terrifying. In 2006, just a couple of years before it was finally installed, Jimenez is working in his studio. He's 65. And a huge section of the sculpture, part of the horse's head, it falls on him.
It severs an artery in his leg.
He literally bled out, crushed and killed by the thing he poured 16 years of his life into.
And that is the foundation of the whole demonic legend. If he had died from the heart attack, it would have been tragic. Yeah. But this violent, crushing end, it makes the object feel sentient, like it has a will of its own.
A violent will. But we have to talk about the artist's intent because it's so different from the public's perception of this, murder horse. Those red eyes weren't meant to be demonic at all, right?
Not at all. The tragedy completely took over the narrative. The red eyes were a direct tribute to his father's neon sign shop where he worked as a kid.
No way.
It was this personal, regional detail that just got completely erased the moment he died.
And the blue color wasn't just some fantasy choice either, was it?
No, that was rooted in his life, too. It was inspired by his own Appaloosa stallion named Blackjack, and also from some local folklore in the St. Louis Valley about a mythical blue horse.
Huh.
And if you look really close at it, he used this polychrome fiberglass with heavy metal flake. It's a glitter you see in lowrider car culture. He was blending modernism with this regional Chicano realism. It was a shout out.
The final irony, then, is how the city actually treated the thing once it was done. Jimenez had this whole plan for a roadside turnoff so people could get up close to it.
Yeah, but after 9/11, security concerns changed everything. Those plans got canceled. And Blucifer was basically exiled to the median on Pinna Boulevard.
So everyone driving to the airport sees it, but nobody can get near it.
Exactly. Seen by thousands every day, but truly touched by none, which only feeds the idea that this is some isolated, dangerous, cursed thing.
The object that killed its creator ends up isolated. Wow. Okay, let's pivot from a single tragic sculpture to objects where the curse is more about emotional turmoil, amplified by mass anxiety.
Viral legends before viral was even a thing.
Yeah. Let's talk about paintings that refuse to burn.
This brings us to the crying boy curse.
Yeah.
This was in the UK back in the 1980s. It was a mass-produced print. You saw it everywhere in working-class homes by an artist named Giovan Bragolin, and it became the center of this huge urban legend.
The legend being, if you own this painting of this sad-looking kid, your house would catch fire.
But the painting itself would always be found, like, perfectly fine in the ashes.
Yeah, it was tabloid gold.
Yeah.
The Sun newspaper ran this massive campaign about it. They reported all these instances where the painting survived fires that were just caused by, normal carelessness, dropped cigarettes, bad heaters.
And they even had people burn their copies on camera.
Oh, yeah, they totally fed the hysteria.
That level of panic where you're trying to burn your own art, that's real terror. There has to be a scientific reason, right?
Well, the logical take is that those prints probably used some kind of fire retardant material or coating.
So they were just harder to burn.
Exactly. But by then, logic was totally out the window. The story was just too good. And it evolved, right? Soon, there was this whole fictional backstory about the boy in the painting being nicknamed Diablo and the artist mixing his blood into the paint.
Of course, the collective belief just became the curse. Speaking of blood and paint, that brings us to the Anguished Man.
Right. This one's a painting of this screaming, distorted figure. And the rumor is that the artist mixed his own blood into the paints right before he took his own life.
That's a much more intimate kind of haunting than the mass-produced crying boy.
For sure. The current owner's grandmother said she would see a dark figure and hear a man crying near the artwork. It suggests the object is a container for that one person's extreme trauma.
And then you have La Pascuanita, the corpse bride, this hyper-realistic mannequin in a bridal shop window in Chihuahua, Mexico.
An absolute classic. The
Yeah.
legend is that this incredibly lifelike mannequin is actually the embalmed body of the original owner's daughter.
Who died right before her wedding day in the 1930s.
Exactly.
And when you see the pictures, you kind of get it. The realism is insane, especially the hands. You can see veins. And people swear her eyes followed.
Yeah. The logistics of preserving a body in a shop window for almost a century are pretty much impossible. But that doesn't matter when what you're seeing is that unsettling.
That feeling, that intense creepiness of something that looks too real, it's like that Japanese folk belief, right? Tsukumogami.
Exactly. It's a perfect cultural template for this fear.
The idea that everyday objects can come to life if you disrespect them.
Yeah, Tsukumogami are spirits, or yukai, that are born after an object turns 100 years old. An old teapot, a doll, a pair of scissors. If you neglect them or throw them away without respect, they can come back.
Sometimes. Eventually.
Sometimes vengefully. It's a philosophy that says you have to care for your things. Or they might just demand that respect back.
And that takes us straight to the psychology behind all this, that revulsion we feel toward things that are almost human, but not quite. The uncanny valley.
It is exactly that. It's the scientific term for that creeped out feeling. If you graph it, our positive feeling toward an object goes up as it gets more human-like, but then it hits this cliff, this sharp drop into revulsion right before it becomes perfectly real.
So we love a cute cartoon robot, but we hate a wax figure that looks almost, but not quite human. So why does that valley exist? Is it like some primal fear of dead bodies or disease?
The best evidence we have points to something called perceptual mismatch. It's not just that it's almost human, it's that it's inconsistent.
What do you mean?
Like you have hyper-realistic eyes on a cartoonish face, or you have atypical features like grossly enlarged eyes on a face that's otherwise trying to be human.
Which perfectly explains Blucifer. You've got this realistic, powerful horse form, but with these totally unnatural, glowing red neon eyes. Your brain just goes, error, does not compute.
And it's the same with La Pascualita. Her hyper-realistic hands and veins clash with the stillness of the rest of her body. It's a glitch our brains can't categorize, so it just flags it as creepy.
And we see this all the time in movies with CGI. When reviewers talk about a film having an eerie feeling, they're usually talking about the uncanny valley. I remember watching Rogue One with the digital actors.
Peter Cushing and Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, and just feeling off before I even knew why. It was just unsettling.
Your brain was hitting that perceptual mismatch. The CGI replicas of Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Terminator sequels got the same criticism. They're close enough to be recognizable, but just flawed enough to be deeply creepy. It's the curse of the computational age.
So we've got the modern rules down, the digital, the psychological, the media-fueled. But this isn't new. How did the ancient world handle this fear of objects absorbing malice?
Well, let's pivot back. In the ancient world, it was less about media hype and more about theft and violating sacred boundaries.
Okay.
You find things like the Ring of Sinitianus. It's a Roman gold ring found in 1785. But nearby, they found a curse tablet, a defixio.
And the curse wasn't just, I hope you die.
No, it was more transactional. It was an appeal to the Celtic god Nodens, asking that the thief, Sinitianus, not have health until he brings the ring back.
That's high-stakes emotional blackmail. And as a side note, Tolkien looked into this case, didn't he? Possible inspiration for the Lord of the Rings?
It's often cited as one, yeah. Then you have things like the Bassano vase. It's a 15th century silver vase from Naples. And its curse is rooted in violence. It was a wedding gift for a bride who was murdered the night before her wedding, holding it.
And the deaths just kept coming.
They kept coming. It was passed down through her family, and every single owner died mysteriously, sometimes within months. A pharmacist had it for 3 months, a surgeon for 2. When it showed up again in 1988, there was a note inside.
What did it say?
Just, beware, this vase brings death. The vase basically absorbed the trauma of that one violent act.
And we see a weird, modern, quantified version of this with Pompeii, right? Tours are always stealing little fragments of the ruins.
Constantly. But the guilt of the curse seems to catch up with them. The archaeological authorities in Pompeii get about 100 packages a year.
No way.
Yep. Full of returned, stolen pieces, and they come with these letters detailing all the bad luck the person had. Cancer, divorce, financial ruin. They're even thinking of opening a museum just for these cursed returned objects.
A museum of regret, filled with stuff stained by theft and anxiety. So what's the thread that connects these Roman fragments, a cursed Italian vase, and even a giant blue horse in Denver?
It all comes down to a deep historical anxiety about contamination, about foreign bodies crossing boundaries where they don't belong.
Like a virus.
Exactly. Curses are often about a fear of the unclean, the ill-fated, returning to a pure space, whether that's your home or your city. These objects that are stolen or stained by violence, they become terrifying because they're proof that a boundary was violated.
They're the physical evidence of the transgression?
They are. These cursed objects symbolize real-world trauma, violence, sickness, theft that has been absorbed and then externalized. They're the physical manifestation of our fear that something bad from the outside is going to get in.
So what does this all mean? We've seen Lucifer's aesthetic clash with its tragic origin. We've seen viral paintings haunted by tabloid stories. And we've seen how ancient objects tap into our basic fear of contamination.
And the pattern is pretty clear. The most powerful pieces, whether it's a huge statue or a creepy doll, are always the ones stained by real-life trauma or legal pressure or psychological trauma. A curse is really just that perfect storm where our collective belief slams into a genuine human tragedy.
The story we tell about the object is what gives it its power.
Absolutely.
Which makes you wonder, with the rise of deepfakes and these hyper-realistic AI characters, if the uncanny valley is that chilling feeling we get when something is almost human but just wrong,
Right.
are the most effective curses of the future going to be digital? The objects our brains can't categorize and that we can't ever physically destroy. What happens when the art that kills its creator is just code that lives on the cloud? That's something for you to mull on until the next deep dive.